I was the Republican nominee for this office in 2002. Can I get some people here to heard me speak before? Okay. I'll try not to cover the same territory. I am a limited government constitutionalist and a fiscal conservative. Can I ask how many people here consider yourselves to be fiscal conservatives? Okay, just about everybody. Now, I want to start to show what a fair-minded guy I am by saying something nice about President Obama. President Obama, and then I'm going to say something nice about Rob Cornilles to show how really fair-minded. President Obama has come up with a very effective solution to the problem of illegal immigration. He has made the economy of the United States so bad that Mexicans don't even want to come. And in fact, last week, 17 Americans were arrested crossing the border of Mexico. That didn't actually happen, but if we keep going on the trajectory we're on, that's the future. Now, let me start by saying something about my opponent, Rob Cornilles. Listening to his deputy campaign manager speak, it sounded like we're already in the general election. We have a primary here, okay? And Rob is the front runner. And, you know, I promised him I wasn't going to do any personal attacks against him. But I do think it's legitimate to draw philosophical distinctions so that voters understand the differences between us. Rob is a very nice guy. He's an attractive candidate, good-looking young guy. I was once good-looking and young myself. Smart businessman. But I think that if Republican voters understand the differences on the issues, we're going to understand this is going to be a real primary contest. Now, Rob, in fact, I was surprised the deputy campaign manager mentioned tonight that Rob has been endorsed by 17 mayors, including several Democrats. I didn't think he would tell that to a Republican audience. But you have to ask the question, why would Democrats endorse a Republican? How many Democrats do you think are going to endorse me? And if they were, I wouldn't talk about it to Republicans. So let's try to understand, why are Democrats endorsing Rob Cornilles? Okay, let's try starting with a couple of issues which define fiscal conservatism, because almost all Republicans are fiscally conservative. So let's take Obamacare. How many people in this room think that Obamacare is a good idea? Nobody. Most Republicans don't think it's a good idea. You know how many Republicans voted for Obamacare in Congress? 0. Now, the Club for Growth puts out a, it's a very conservative, pro-market national organization. They have a pledge for candidates pledging to repeal Obamacare. Rob Cornilles wouldn't sign the pledge. I, Jimmy Greenfield, did sign the pledge. Why wouldn't he sign the pledge? What about the No New Taxes pledge Americans for Tax Reform puts out? Do you know that 278 Republicans in Congress have signed the No New Taxes pledge? Only 6 House members who are Republican refused to sign the No New Taxes pledge, the most liberal members. Rob Cornilles has refused to sign the pledge. So if he gets elected, that would mean there'll be seven Republicans in the House who refuse to sign the pledge. I, Jim Greenfield, signed the No New Tax pledge. Now these are defining issues for fiscal conservatism. Yeah. So why won't Rob sign the pledge? Well, you can find the answer by going to his website. Did you think I would promote Rob Cornilles' website? It's on there. He explains that if the balanced budget amendment passes, he says, it will be necessary to, quote, severely raise taxes. How many of you think we're going to need to severely raise taxes to balance the budget? Okay, we got one. I'm sure you're a Republican.
But it's going to have to be done the way it's done.
See, I don't think that we need to raise taxes to balance the budget, because we don't have a lack of tax problem. We have an excessive spending problem. Now, you know, I'm sorry Rob's not here to defend himself. Seriously. But I would like an explanation, because he gave a speech at Dorchester last spring in which he went on at length about why in Oregon it's necessary that we have Republicans who are willing to work with Democrats, collaborate with Democrats, compromise. I think that working and collaborating with Democrats is what got us into the mess we're in. I think we need Republicans now who are willing to stand in. The idea of compromise is a very nice sounding phrase. It sounds nice to say, oh, I don't want to compromise. It sounds like you're being stubborn and obstreperous. But it sounds, the idea of compromising and collaborating with the Democrats sounds to me a little bit like what President Obama said. He said, in solving the debt crisis, we need a balanced approach, right? Very nice sounding phrase, balanced approach. Almost as nice as hope and change. So what does Obama mean by a balanced approach? Probably something similar to what Cornilles means by collaborating with Democrats. A balanced approach to Obama means that you balance spending cuts with tax increases. Well, that sounds reasonable, doesn't it? Except for a couple of problems. First of all, the spending cuts are imaginary. They use this thing called baseline budgeting. Okay, how does baseline budgeting work? Well, that means that instead of, that they project, that next year the budget will go up by 10%. And then when it only goes up by 6%, they say, look at that, we cut 4%. Now, why don't you try that when you file your tax return? Use that kind of accounting and see how that goes to the IRS. You know, I projected I was going to make $150,000, and I only made $100,000, so I'm going to call that a $50,000 loss. That's baseline accounting. So they don't really cut anything. All they do is slow down the growth a little. And on the tax side, oh well, let's see. We're going to raise taxes. Now that's real. They really do raise the taxes. And what happens when they raise the taxes? They project, oh, we're raising the tax rate, so more revenue is going to come in. Now, they've been doing that for almost 100 years. And just to give you an idea how well it works, I've actually studied debates in Congress when they were debating the 16th Amendment, whether to have an income tax. You know what the main argument that was made in favor of an income tax? The main argument, there were a number of arguments, the main argument was that it would reduce the national debt. $1 million. Now 15 trillion, and that doesn't include the 60 trillion in unfunded liability. So that worked pretty well. Almost as well as the Federal Reserve worked at keeping the dollar strong. So, you know, this idea that a Republican is going to go to Congress and work with the Democrats and compromise, I think compromise is overrated. Think about this. I'll give you an analogy. You may have heard this before. But let's suppose that you're sitting in a bus, and the bus driver is going 100 miles an hour right to the edge of a cliff. And you start yelling at him, stop, you gotta stop, we're all gonna get killed. Now there's gonna be some people in the back who are gonna say, will you guys stop quarreling up there? You know, like, there are people who say, oh, this is terrible, they're arguing in Washington. Like, that's the worst thing in the world. The arguing isn't the problem. The problem is the debt.
Thank you.
And the problem in the bus isn't that you're arguing with the bus driver, it's that he's headed for the edge of the cliff. So some people in the back are saying, well, you should compromise with him. Okay, tell you what, why don't you just drive off the cliff at 50 miles per hour? So, we don't need to compromise right now. It's like, I was thinking about this tonight, that Flight 93, remember when